Welcome to Global Watch. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. The world stands at a crossroads where the choices we make today will echo for generations. The delicate balance of global cooperation, built over decades, now teeters on the edge of uncertainty. Its foundation of international trust has been shaken to the core as old alliances falter and new doubts emerge. The very rooms where agreements were once forged now stand empty, echoing with the absence of consensus. Decades of progress, painstakingly achieved through negotiation and compromise, are threatened by broken promises, shifting alliances, and scandals that reach from Ukraine's battlefields to the halls of power in Washington and Beijing. The world watches as leaders navigate a maze of conflicting interests, each decision carrying consequences that ripple far beyond their borders. China's support for Russia, the collapse of Trump's Phase 1 trade deal, and the resurgence of the Epstein files have converged, fueling global instability. These events are not isolated headlines, they are interconnected threads in a tapestry of uncertainty, each one pulling at the seams of international order. These crises are not isolated, they feed off each other, testing alliances and rattling economies. As leaders gather at summits, the tension is palpable, with every handshake and every word scrutinized for signs of hope or betrayal. Supply chains remain fragile, and the economic fallout is already hitting ordinary people with higher prices and job losses. From empty supermarket shelves to shuttered factories, the impact is felt in every corner of daily life, reminding us that global events are never far from home. Most alarming is the erosion of trust, in agreements, in leaders, and in the systems meant to hold power accountable. Disillusionment grows, as citizens question whether anyone is truly looking out for their interests, or if the promises made are just words on paper. When secrets are exposed and promises broken, the very fabric of our interconnected world begins to unravel. Each revelation chips away at the sense of security that once bound nations together, leaving uncertainty in its wake. This is more than a story of politics, it's about the reliability of commitments that shape our future. The agreement signed today will determine the opportunities and challenges faced by the next generation, making trust more vital than ever. As we navigate this storm, we must ask, who can we trust, and how do we hold power to account? The answers will define not just our present but the legacy we leave behind. China once pledged to respect Ukraine's sovereignty and provide security assurances if nuclear threats arose. These promises, made in 1994 and 2013, were crucial for Ukraine after it gave up its nuclear arsenal. But when Russia invaded in 2022, China's support vanished. Beijing refused to condemn the aggression and blocked UN resolutions against Moscow. China's so-called peace plan echoed Russian interests, deepening the sense of betrayal in Kiev. Ironically, China's military modernization began with Ukrainian technology, but relations soured after a blocked aerospace deal in 2016. Today, President Zelensky accuses China of undermining peace, even pressuring other nations to avoid Ukraine's peace talks. For Ukraine, China's guarantees proved empty, a stark warning to any nation relying on Beijing's word. The lesson: diplomatic assurances mean little when strategic interests shift. In January 2020, President Trump unveiled the much-anticipated Phase 1 trade deal with China, marking what he called a turning point in the ongoing economic standoff between the world's two largest economies. The agreement was promoted as a bold step to rebalance the economic relationship, protect American jobs, and address long-standing grievances about unfair trade practices. Under the deal, China pledged to purchase an additional $200 billion in U.S. goods and services over 2 years, spanning everything from agriculture to manufacturing and energy. In return, the U.S. agreed to reduce some tariffs, while China promised to crack down on intellectual property theft, forced technology transfers, and other practices that had long frustrated American businesses. Trump hailed the deal as a historic win for American workers and a testament to his tough negotiating style, touting it as a major victory on the campaign trail. Yet, many economists and trade experts were skeptical from the start, pointing to the ambitious purchase targets and the lack of strong enforcement mechanisms. Just weeks after the signing, the COVID-19 pandemic swept across the globe, bringing international trade to a near standstill and upending supply chains everywhere. With factories shuttered and demand plummeting, China's ability to meet its purchase commitments became nearly impossible, and U.S. exporters were left with unsold goods. As the world slowly recovered, it became clear that China's purchases were falling far short of the targets, with billions of dollars in promised trade left unrealized. The grand promises of the deal faded into the background, replaced by disappointment and finger-pointing on both sides. Critics argued that the agreement was little more than a temporary truce, failing to address the deeper structural issues at the heart of the US-China economic rivalry. Business leaders and policymakers alike expressed concern that the deal did not provide a lasting solution to the complex and deep-rooted tensions between the two nations. What was once touted as a symbol of Trump's negotiating prowess soon became a political liability, as critics seized on its shortcomings and unfulfilled promises. The deal's failures became increasingly apparent, fueling debate in Washington and beyond about the effectiveness of such high-profile agreements. Meanwhile, the broader US-China rivalry only intensified, spilling over into technology, security, and global influence. The collapse of the deal deepened mistrust, making future cooperation even more challenging. The lesson is clear: grand announcements and signed documents mean little without real accountability, transparency, and follow-through. In a world where power dynamics are constantly shifting, trade deals remain fragile, and their true impact is often revealed only with time. As Russia's war in Ukraine grinds on with no clear end in sight, the world's attention has turned to the powerful forces shaping the conflict from behind the scenes. At the heart of this shadowy support system is China, which has emerged as Moscow's most crucial economic and diplomatic lifeline, providing the Kremlin with the resources and backing it needs to withstand global pressure. While Beijing has so far avoided sending direct arms shipments to Russia, it has found other ways to keep the Russian war machine running. Chinese companies have supplied key components for Russian drones and other military technologies, often disguising these shipments as civilian goods or dual-use technologies to evade international scrutiny and sanctions. In response, Western governments have imposed sanctions on Chinese firms accused of aiding Russia's war effort, but Beijing's support has proven resilient, adapting to new restrictions and finding creative ways to continue its assistance. On the battlefield, Ukrainian forces have managed to down thousands of Russian drones, many of which are powered by advanced Chinese technology. Intelligence cooperation between Moscow and Beijing has also deepened, with China accused of providing Russia with valuable satellite imagery and surveillance data to aid its military operations. There are even reports linking Chinese operatives to espionage activities inside Ukraine, further complicating the conflict. Economically, China's trade with Russia has soared to record highs, providing Moscow with a vital financial cushion. Major energy deals and the construction of new pipelines are bankrolling the Kremlin, ensuring a steady flow of cash and resources. Meanwhile, trade between China and Ukraine has collapsed, leaving Ukraine increasingly isolated economically. This growing dependence on Beijing has cemented Russia's reliance on Chinese technology, goods, and political support. As a result, China's support has shifted the balance of power in the conflict, making it a key enabler of Russia's ongoing war effort. The partnership now extends beyond economics, encompassing military cooperation and strategic alignment. The world is watching as the China-Russia alliance grows ever stronger, transforming from a partnership of convenience into a formidable strategic force on the global stage. The Phase 1 trade deal is now officially dead. By late 2024, China's purchases of U.S. goods were 40% below target, and promised reforms stalled. American companies still face barriers in China, and intellectual property protections remain weak. The deal's collapse has become a political flashpoint, with blame traded between administrations. Trump now demands NATO allies impose tariffs on China for supporting Russia, linking trade failure to global conflict. International observers see the collapse as inevitable, given the deep differences between the US and China. The dream of easy rebalancing is gone, replaced by a protracted strategic rivalry. The failed deal is a cautionary tale. Without strong enforcement, trade agreements are easily broken. In today's world, economic promises are as fragile as political ones. As global tensions rise, a domestic scandal reignites public outrage. The release of new Epstein files in April 2025 has exposed more names and details, fueling anger at elite impunity. Protests demand transparency and accountability as faith in institutions hits new lows. The scandal is now a symbol of systemic corruption, complicating the political landscape for leaders like Trump. Even without direct implication, the renewed focus on Epstein undermines trust in government, justice, and media. This crisis of confidence makes it harder for leaders to rally support for complex international policies. When trust erodes at home, it weakens a nation's standing abroad. These converging crises are fracturing alliances and destabilizing economies worldwide. China's alignment with Russia has shattered its image as a neutral power, forcing nations to pick sides. The failed trade deal signals a return to tariff wars, threatening higher prices, and disrupted supply chains. China's economic pivot to Russia deepens its entanglement in the conflict, risking Western sanctions. Societies are feeling the strain. Trust in agreements and institutions is fading, fueling cynicism and instability. The Epstein scandal amplifies anger and powerlessness, making it easier for populists to exploit public frustration. In Europe and Asia, countries struggle to balance security, economic interests, and shifting alliances. In the US, political blame games dominate as leaders argue over who lost China or is soft on Russia. The world is fracturing, geopolitically and internally, as trust collapses. Experts worldwide agree, trust is in crisis. China's security guarantees to Ukraine were always more rhetoric than reality, used to gain influence, not offer real protection. Analysts see Beijing's support for Russia as a calculated move to challenge the West and drain its resources. On trade, experts warn that new tariffs would hurt both US consumers and Chinese manufacturers, without solving core issues. Trump's demand for NATO tariffs on China is seen as unrealistic and potentially divisive, risking alliance unity. The common thread, a breakdown of trust in international commitments and alliances. Without faith in agreements, the world becomes more dangerous and unpredictable. The erosion of trust is the defining crisis of our era. We stand amid the wreckage of broken promises, facing an uncertain future. China's partnership with Russia and the collapse of the trade deal have exposed the limits of old rules and bilateral negotiations. Domestic scandals like Epstein's further erode public faith, weakening nations from within. This crisis of confidence is a vulnerability exploited by adversaries, fueling division and instability. The path forward demands accountability, at home and abroad. Only by holding nations and individuals to account can we hope to restore trust and rebuild a rules-based order. The answers won't come easily, but the stakes are too high to ignore. In a world of broken promises, how do we begin to rebuild trust? The future depends on the choices we make now.